Hi everyone, Az here from HeelvsBabyface. I've got to say, a little bit low energy today, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to just have a little tipple. Just a little tipple. A little pick-me-up. Yeah, a little pick-me-up. Right, let's get on with today's video. No, that wasn't a product placement or a sponsorship. It was a bit. That was it. Okay, so yesterday, Blizzard decided to do what they do best, which is throw something out there, get their player base completely wound up, and then most likely within 24-48 hours totally 180 on what they've just done. We'll see though, we'll see. But yesterday Blizzard put this post up. WoW Classic European Realms Structure. As we get closer to WoW Classic's release, which is what, August 27th, so just over 2 months away from now, we thought now would be a good time to talk about our plans for Classic Realms here in Europashire. We've prepared several realms. Well, you've got plenty, what with Battle for Azeroth. That's not funny. Which will include PvP, PvE, and RPR role-playing realms, of course. For Classic, we're planning on not splitting up realms by language. Ooh, okay. Okay, I'm sure that won't cause any problems. This has its advantages for you, for Blizzard, and its disadvantages for the players. But overall, we think it's the best starting point for WoW Classic. We'll get into this. An exception will be made for the Russian language. Yes, you can go yourselves. Which will have a separate realm due to its reliance on the Cyrillic alphabet. For technical reasons, it's not technical reasons whatsoever because they have been fully integrated into the game right now. So that is a big fat fib. This will also mean, just thought I'd get that out of the way now, Russia is going to have its own separate game client. Similar to what happened in the Burning Crusade. Remember, it did take quite a while before Russia got integrated into the rest of Europe in the terms of World of Warcraft. But now, you're separated again by Russia. That's it. That's all I got to say on Russia. They've cast them aside. So whether or not you're happy about that as a non-Russian player, unhappy about that as a non-Russian player, same with Russian players, if you're happy or not happy with that, it's tough titty. Because you're getting your own client, you're getting completely separated from everyone else, and you can only play with yourselves. Giggity. But not in a giggly kind of way. Yeah, let's just break this down a little bit. Actually, there's just one more sentence to get through. We think this approach will give players more freedom to move around to where they want and find guilds and friends that best match their interests. I think we might find it may be a little bit more complicated than that and not actually provide these results. Okay, let's get into the reasons why I don't think this is a particularly good idea. And since the beginning of time in World of Warcraft, we have had separate language servers. Okay, we've had English, we've had French, we've had German, Spanish, Italian, and then Russian, I think, came later on. Now, the reason why we do have these separate languages is because in Europe speaks many more languages than, let's say, the Americas, where I think it's only roughly around 3 major languages. Is it English, Spanish, and Portuguese? Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's multiple different countries that speak multiple different languages. English isn't, although it is, a very popular language, it isn't the only language by any stretch of the imagination. And whereas you might be able to understand somebody who speaks English, or at least be able to get the gist of what they're saying when they speak English, there is a substantial difference between the spoken word and the written word. It's much easier to understand somebody in a different language, picking up words, etc., etc. But trying to write that down is a completely different kettle of fish. That's just linguistics 101, I'm afraid. Okay, so whereas somebody from France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, Holland, wherever, may understand the vast majority of what I'm speaking, if I was to say write it down, they might not be able to do anything. And of course, World of Warcraft is a text-based game, not a verbal game. To speak verbally, yes, you do know people are going to go, but you do have voice chat. Yeah, for the amount of people that use voice chat compared to the amount of people that don't use voice chat, it is, for the most part, a text-based game, unless most people now go off client and have their Discords and Ventrilos. Does this mean we all have to reinstall Ventrilo for Classic? TeamSpeaks, you know, all that kind of stuff. But for the you kind of like standard player, just chilling out in the game, not raiding, not dungeoneering, they are most likely just listening to YouTube, listening to some music, and just playing the game. Yeah, that's pretty much how World of Warcraft gets played. So when you have all servers mixed, as in every language mixed, you're going to get a vast array of different languages in the chat. Now, this is one of those instances, one of those strange instances, but logical instances, where this can actually be more problematic than helpful. Because this is one of those times where having multiple different languages going through chats, having multiple different languages going on in the game itself, is actually exclusionary as opposed to inclusionary. You see, we talk about diversity and being inclusive by having all this diversity, and yet it actually has the complete flip reverse role in an instance like this. It actually becomes exclusionary because somebody, let's just say somebody, an English player, let's just say an English player. Let's flip reverse this completely on Blizzard. An English player, like myself, creates a character on a server, okay? Because all these servers are universal. So I just pick any server. And I go into that server and I start leveling up. And let's just say at level 10, I meander into Stormwind. I meander into Orgrimmar, wherever it may be. And I get a look at the trade chat that's going on, and I suddenly realise that this server is predominantly German, or predominantly French, or Spanish, or Italian, or whatever language other people are speaking, and I suddenly realise I can't actually understand what's going on. And so I'm feeling excluded because I'm feeling as if this is going to be actually very difficult for me to find a guild. This is going to be difficult for me to potentially group up with people. Sifting through the chat, it's going to probably be very busy, so the chat's going to be going very quickly. So trying to siphon through the chat to find something that's relevant to me, people looking for a dungeon, people looking for this or that or the other, that could end up actually being exclusionary. So you just flip reverse that on somebody, again, who's French, who's German, who's Spanish, and they don't have a good grasp of the English language. So it's very arrogant of us to assume that people from foreign countries are going to have a grasp of the English written language sufficient enough for them to communicate fully. So what is actually going to happen? Well, all of these universal servers are going to start to organically develop into language servers. So there's going to be people who are saying, look, if you are a French-speaking WoW player and you want a French community, we are setting up on Sylvanas server. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to try and get the word out there, and they're trying to get as many French people, as many French-speaking people to gravitate towards Sylvanas. That's just how it's going to materialize. Same with German-speaking, Spanish-speaking, Italian-speaking. Or even English-speaking. Hey, we're English speakers. We're going to try and take over these servers. Sarfang. Anduin, we're going to take over these servers. These are going to be the English servers. That's how it's probably going to start to organically materialize through organization. But people who actually use the forums and such are so low in comparison to the number of players that the game actually has, that when these formations start to take fruition, then you're going to get the problems which I just mentioned at the start of the video, where somebody could just roll a character on a server because they're universal and actually finding themselves on a predominantly German server or a French server or an Italian server or a Spanish server. And Classic is a lot different than the regular game. It's a lot harder to level up. It takes a lot more time, a lot more effort. So to try and get off those servers, what are Blizzard going to do then? Are they going to allow free character transfers? Are they going to allow any transfers? I've got a feeling there's going to be no transfers, no nothing of that variety, no faction changes, race changes, no nothing allowed on Classic. My assumption, without making an ass out of you or me, is that they're just going to say you roll your character and you go. You roll your character and you go. Classic is an extra to the main game. And this could prove very problematic for people. It could prove very problematic for people. Now, I'll just wrap this up. We're getting on a little bit. But back in 1999, year 2000, when Phantasy Star Online came out, they actually had a universal translator built into the game because of the fact that everything was grouped together. And so you could put simple sentences together with the universal translator, put it into chat, and it would translate it to the other people that you were playing with in their respective languages. That was basic stuff, and that was nearly 20 years ago. However, what still happened, even in Phantasy Star Online, was people still gravitated towards different segments of the server based off their language. So you had an English side, and then you had because we used to actually go to the Japanese servers to play because it had the most people. So we'd go to the Japanese side to play, but you build up your English communities, your English-speaking community. So we'd like take over certain aspects of that. It was all kind of really interesting stuff. But that is what is organically going to happen. And Blizzard here can just do what they've done right now. What is the problem of having 2 English-speaking rounds? 1 French, 1 German, 1 Spanish, 1 Italian. What is wrong with that? I have no idea whatsoever. No idea. So this decision, I don't think is best. I think it's going to be more problematic than not. Does it mean that it's going to fail? No. I mean, you've got to look at Final Fantasy XIV, and that is based off just Europe, and it's not broken down via language. And yet in Final Fantasy XIV, it seems to work. I don't know quite what that says. I don't know what that quantifiable data means to anything, but the World of Warcraft has been brought up differently than Final Fantasy XIV in the way that they do things, the way that they've structured it anyway. So the World of Warcraft has always had that break of language and just made it very easy for people. You find a lot of Dutch players going into the German servers, stuff like that. And it just makes it a lot easier for players to find the realms and the language that they are going to feel most comfortable with. And ultimately, isn't it for the players, for their enjoyment, for their fun at the end of the day? So I don't think this is I don't personally think this is a good idea. I think it would be much better of them to break it up by language. Is it a thing to scream and shout and rant and rave about? No. But I don't think this is a smart decision. And I think if they do decide to go ahead with this, I do believe at some point it will ultimately break into language. They will ultimately have to break things up into language anyway and separate by language. So you might as well do it now before it causes issues. Because when you break it up via language, then what you're going to do? Then you're going to have to allow people to free transfer over to the realm of their respective area. It's all a bit messy, and I think they're just... I don't understand the thought process behind this. To me, it just doesn't make sense, the thought process. If it ain't broke, don't fix. So why are you trying to fix something which ain't broke? In actual fact, why are you trying to fix something which is working absolutely as intended on the main game for the past 15 years? But there we go. So let me know what you guys and gals think in the comment section down below. Infinitus! Okay, and I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. It's honestly, it's not an advert. I've just got it here. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.